Hi everybody, I'm going to try something new here with one of my new gadgets this semester, and I'm going to try to do a little summary. You can see here I've got some videos walking you through things. So now what I'm going to try is a video here to walk you through Chapter 1, some of the key concepts we have there. Here's week 1, here's our introduce yourself, and most of you have been on here, and I can see that 17 of you have done the first assignment here on Miracle Whip. So that's due tonight, but the basic rule of thumb, as long as you get your post in before I get around to grading it, you should be okay. So here's Chapter 1, and I have a document here with key concepts, and it's really just kind of blank and has some main things. So this is kind of a study guide for you, so you can print this out and write your own notes on it, which will probably be helpful for you. But the other thing I'm going to try to do right now is kind of use this document to walk you through here, and I'm going to scribble on this and save my scribbled version for you too, so you can use either one. So you can use the blank copy and put your own notes on it, you can watch the video, or you can use my scribbled up version. And I've been practicing, so hopefully you will be able to read this okay. Let's see what we get. Hold on one second here. Okay, this will be the toughest one. There's a little figure on page, I think it's page 5 of your book, that talks about the communication process. So I'm going to do my best to draw this for you here. But we start out with, sorry, let's go back to this little pen here. We start out here with the sender, or at least I think we do. Okay, we start out here with the sender, who is going to send a message. And this will be, for marketing communications, this will be the company that's sending the message. And then they have to encode this message to the receiver. The encoding is how they send the message. It could be verbal, it could be nonverbal, it could be pictures, it could be words, it could be anything like that. And then we have... they encode that, and then they send it through the transmission device. This is the channel that they send it to. So this is the TV ad, or the ad you see in a magazine, or in the newspaper, or anything like that. Then it gets decoded by the receiver. The decoding takes place then when the message reaches the receiver's senses. Okay? And since I'm running out of room, I'm going to go this way, and it gets decoded then by the receiver, and that is the customer. The customer then will send feedback to the sender. So that could be the company. That, you know, the feedback might be that I buy my product, or something like that. Now, along this process, you've got everywhere in here, you've got noise happening. Okay, and that's the big problem with communication. Those little lines mean they're noise, and you can see that's happening at every point during this communication process. Noise is anything that distorts or distracts the message. A lot of this, the most common type of noise is clutter, which we're just bombarded with advertising messages constantly. When we're just driving around, we see so many messages outside and on the internet, and when we're watching TV, it's everywhere. So clutter is a big problem. That's one of the biggest challenges that advertisers face. If you look at figure 1.2 on page 6, that has a lot of different types of communication noise. So if you're talking on the phone while you're watching a television commercial, that's distracting you from the message that's being sent to you. If you have the radio on, you're getting messages, but you're driving and you're thinking about other things. So that's another example. Scrolling past internet ads without looking at them, so you're not receiving that message. Scanning a newspaper or scanning magazine ads without really reading what the ad, or not really receiving the full message. So any of those things are are noise, and that makes it tougher for the advertiser to send the message that they're trying to send. Okay, what is an IMC program is the second objective of this chapter. IMC is integrated marketing communication program. And what that means is that we are integrating all of the marketing tools and avenues and the whole thing in order to maximize the impact on our consumer. It means that you are integrating all the elements of the marketing mix. So the 4 P's of marketing, if you've had our other marketing class, the 4 P's are product, price, promotion, and place. And so integrating all 4 of those things together into one comprehensive message. So for instance, if you are selling this product and pricing it as a really high-end product, you would not want to advertise it in some kind of news source that's really like The Onion or something, I don't know, that's really not a reputable news source. So you need the message to be consistent. Or again, if you're selling, the place is where you sell it. If you're promoting this product as a really high class, high quality thing, maybe you don't want to sell it at Walmart. So integrating all of those things. There is another figure in your book, figure 1.3 on page 7, which has a summary of, let's see, that is figure 1.3 on page 7, which kind of summarizes all of the 4 P's of marketing. The steps for an integrated marketing plan, you start with analyzing the current situation. A good way to do that is to do a SWOT analysis, and they describe that one in your book here. I do want to point out, I probably should have said this at the beginning, that this is not a substitute for reading the chapter. I'm going to assume that you still need to read the chapter. I'm just going to kind of summarize some of the main points here. After you analyze the current situation, you set your objectives. What are you trying to achieve? Sometimes you're not just trying to achieve more sales. Sometimes you need to inform the customer or persuade, so you set your objectives here. Then you decide on your target market. You can't be everything to everyone, and nobody sells a product that appeals to everyone, so you have to set which customers you're going to try and target. After that, you come up with your strategy. How are you going to reach these people? How are you going to convince them that you have what they need and that you're going to provide value to them? Once you come up with your overall strategy, you design the tactics that you're going to use to reach those, that your goals there. Then you need to implement it. So this will be big picture, then your specifics, how you're going to do that, and then you actually have to do it. And then you're going to go back and evaluate how effective you were. In order to do that, you need to look back at your objectives. What was I trying to achieve, and what did I achieve? And if I didn't, where did I go wrong, and how can I fix that for the future? The third section of this chapter talks about current trends that are affecting marketing communication. One of the things they talk about in here is accountability. It used to be you saw this a lot in production, and now you're seeing it a lot more in marketing, that before all companies have limited resource. And before I'm going to lay out $6 million for a Super Bowl ad, I want to be sure that I'm going to get my money's worth out of this. So marketers are increasingly being asked to be accountable for what they're doing. The goal of marketing isn't just to provide entertainment and to provide a really fun Super Bowl ad. The goal is to improve the profitability of the company, and so they're being forced to kind of show that. The other trend that we see is changes in tasks or roles. And we'll talk a little bit about that later, but the video, for instance, in Chapter 4 talks about some of the roles in an advertising agency or in a marketing plan, and the different players in this whole atmosphere and what their roles are. One of the really big changes or trends in here is alternative media. and there are a lot of new ways to reach customers. And because of this, the way we talk to customers has changed dramatically. It's not just one-way communication anymore. There's a lot of two-way communication. Customers are communicating back to the companies in addition to the companies communicating to customers. So we see things here like social media. Oops, sorry about that. Social media is a big one. Interactive websites where the customers can respond back to the firms. For instance, if you buy something on Amazon, then you can write a review of that. So it's the two-way communication. Blogs that could be by the company or by customers. Smartphones have had a big impact. Look at the apps developed by Starbucks or any of these guys. It really changes the way we communicate with them, and they can send you text messages. One of the other things is because people are receiving information in different ways, they also have a lot of ways now to block advertising messages. So whether it's because I'm still watching TV, but I DVR everything so I skip through the commercials, or I'm watching it on Netflix where I'm not getting the same commercials, or I'm getting my messages on the internet, but it's really, really easy to block out those messages on the side. So it's a lot easier now for people to block out messages so it increases that clutter that we talked about and that noise. So it makes it harder to get your message through. The fourth thing on here is, how does the integrated marketing communication program create value? And really, again, it's talking a lot more about some of the changes and some of the trends and that kind of stuff. So one of the ones they talk about in here are advances in IT, in information technology, which has changed the way a lot of things have done. Look at eBay. Look at YouTube. YouTube. It's really changed. Look at Etsy. Because of what we can do now technologically, it's changed the way a lot of businesses. And so instead of being limited to just the people in your geographic region, even a really small company, even somebody that's just running a business out of their home, can reach customers worldwide and can get their message to people worldwide. So that's really, really changed the way marketers and advertisers have gone, and changed the way we've done business. Another big change is changes in who has the power within the marketing channels. We see the rise of huge mega retailers, and these retail, like Walmart, for example, they have an enormous amount of control over everyone through the supply chain. So they can tell manufacturers how they want stuff done, and if you don't do it this way, then you won't sell at Walmart. And so they have an enormous amount of power, and that's the balance of power has really changed from big manufacturers to some really big retailers. The other one is that customers have a lot more power. They have a lot more options. They have ways to get their message across, and so they have a lot more power than they ever had before with this. And so they've become a much more important part of the chain here. Another one here is the increase in global competition. So we said in the first one here, competition, that advances in IT mean that even small businesses can reach people all over the world. Well, that means that businesses all over the world can also reach our customers. So even if you're just a little local guy, you're still faced with global competition and global opportunities. So it works both ways. And you can just pretend that says competition. Also, we have an increase in what we call brand parity. Brand parity means that consumers consider these brands to be almost equal in the product that they offer and the level of quality, which means what this means to marketers is that there's a lot less brand loyalty. And so if I think these three things are basically the same thing, I'm going to make my decision not on the brand, but on things like price and service, and so those things become much more important for marketers. That lack of brand loyalty is something that's tough. That's really, really important to marketers, is establishing brand loyalty, and that gets tougher and tougher to do. Also because I have so many options to get this. Unless I even like this brand, but instead of going to the store to get it, I can get it on Amazon for cheaper. And so it makes it, you have to have the product where the customers want it at the right time and the right place and all that. We also see an increase in customer engagement. They are engaged in this process. Engaged. They're not just passively receiving messages and then going out to buy stuff. They want to be involved in this. They share what they do on Facebook. They love to give feedback on Amazon or any of these seller websites. And they want to be a part of the process, not just a receiver and a purchaser. And the other one we see in here is an increase in micro-marketing. So this would be the opposite of mass marketing. And so it's kind of niche marketing. I'm going after smaller markets and not just trying to hit everything to everybody. I'm going after smaller, more profitable groups. But you can see a lot of this, we're focusing here on this two-way communication. Let's see, the components of an integrated marketing program. And there's a figure on page 14 of your book, figure 1.5. Here, I'll write that down here. Figure 1.5 on page 14 has a lovely little pyramid here for you. And we start out with the foundation. This is also kind of laying out how the book is going to go. So we start out here with the foundation of an integrated marketing communication program. And the foundation is talking a lot about corporate image, brand management. These are our first couple chapters here. We talk about buyer behavior. That's going to be very important for us to understand before we start trying to reach these customers, understand their decision-making process. So Chapter 2 is corporate image and brand management. Chapter 3 is buyer behavior. And then we go into the planning process, the IMC planning process, which is Chapter 4. Then we talk about the advertising tools, okay? This is the next couple chapters here. The advertising tools are advertising management, so the personnel involved with here. We talk about that, the different roles, the different responsibilities, the different aspects of managing a marketing program. Then we talk about advertising appeals. Now, advertising appeals, you could go with a humorous appeal or a logical appeal or scientific methods or that kind of thing. Once you decide the appeal that your message is going to have, then you will set out your message strategies. And so this is how I'm actually going to deliver that appeal. I might be going with emotion, and I might use certain type of music to really evoke this. Strategies. So then we're going to decide our messaging strategies, and those are the elements of our advertising tools. The next section that we'll talk about is the media tools that we'll use, and they break these into traditional media tools, which are TV, radio, outdoor. These are the ones that have been around for a long time. We'll also talk about digital media, where we are talking about social networking, guests reviewing things on interactive websites, all that kind of thing. And then we will talk about alternative media, which will be things like buzz marketing, product placement, branded entertainment, a lot of different things in there that we'll talk about. After media, we talk about promotional tools. And promotion is different than advertising. In promotion, we'll talk about direct response messages. We'll talk about personal selling, sales promotion, and public relations. So we'll talk about all those things in the promotional tools. And then you get the integration tools, which is where you put all of this together and make sure you have one cohesive message and one cohesive strategy, that it's all integrated together and all consistent. In this section, we'll talk about regulation, what we're allowed to do. We'll talk about ethics, which is what we should do. And we'll talk about evaluating the whole plan to see if we achieved what we wanted to achieve. Then the last section here just says, what does GIMC mean? And that's just global integrated marketing communications. If you're going global, which a lot of people are, even small companies are going global, you basically have two strategies. You can go with a standardization strategy where you do not change any of the 4 Ps. So you're delivering the same product, the same way, the same message, so the 4 Ps don't change. More often than not, what you will see is adaptation as a global strategy, which means at least one of the 4 Ps are changing. A lot of times you change, it might be the same product but you alter the message. It might be the same message but you alter the product, and there's a lot of different ways here. It might just be the delivery channel or where it's sold might change. So changes in any of those 4 Ps would be an adaptation strategy, and that's going to be more common than not. The last thing here, the video assignment in my marketing lab is Big Apple Circus. It's just a little 8-minute video, and that kind of talks about, it just gives an overview of the challenges facing marketers today, and kind of a preview of some of the current trends, what kind of things marketers are having to deal with now. So that's a summary of Chapter 1. Again, make sure you read Chapter 1, but you can use this as a study guide when it comes time for your first exam. Okay? Let me know if you have any questions.